to know what the hell is
3,
going on.
2, 1.
Perfect.
All right.
We're so coordinated.
Yeah, that was a beautiful one. I can tell.
Yeah, it's you know when the good ones happen.
Yeah, that's right.
So, welcome to Screen Share and Chill. This is our second intermission from Two Towers. We're doing these little intermissions in between the huge, daunting projects of working on each of the Lord of the Rings 3 movies. The three that
so we're
actually
not
count.
talking about Lord of the Rings today, thank God.
Does
I
anybody
mean,
else feel
if
like
you want
that's kind of
to-
taken over our lives lately?
Yes, completely. 100%.
Everything that comes up on my social media is Lord of the Rings. I
I've
swear
noticed
people are
that
talking about
as
it
well.
more in my real life. Like, I don't know what's
So
going
do
on.
all people who live through such times, Jamie. It is not for them to decide.
It just won't go away. And I'm kind of
tired,
a
Mr.
little bit of
Frodo.
over it.
I'm also kind of egging it on by playing a bunch of fucking Lord of the Rings games, and I'm still reading the Return of the King novel, and
Why do you do
someone
this?
at work has watched it for the first time Friday, so they're supposed to report back to me on Monday, because they heard I'm doing the podcast, and I'm like, okay, sure, we can talk
yeah.
about it.
Right? I have somebody who's never watched it at work, and I told him that I have a podcast he should listen to before he watches it, and then watch it.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe you should listen to it after. But hey, whatever. Just listen to the podcast. That's the number one thing. Peter
Yeah.
You don't even
Jackson
have to watch
has
the
his
movie.
bag of money.
Yeah.
Listen to our podcast instead.
Hey, you. Yes, that's right, you. Tell your friends about us.
Wait, but I've already told all my... Oh, you're talking to the audience. Yes, you over there. That's outside the imaginary studio that we're in.
Talk about how amazing we are.
Wait, now we're getting into the land of fiction. I know that we're straying into... All right, so just like we did last times, we got a few questions to answer for you all, and hopefully it won't be as much nerd protracted ruler swinging on the table to see whose is the longest. We can actually...
I'll see what I can do about that.
So we have a list of questions here, and the first one I wanted to bring up was from Jamie, and I like it. It's a simple question, but I think it's a fun one. What fictional character do you identify most with, and why? We kind of talked about this with Lord of the Rings, but let's expand that to everything. Let's goat-see this question into the entire milieu of
Excuse
all
me?
fiction.
Did you say let's go see this question?
Yes, he did.
Okay.
Yes, he
Yeah,
did.
I did use goat-see as a verb, yes. You can
Okay.
turn anything into a verb.
Wonderful.
And those
she
5
was.
people that have never listened to us before joined the podcast. They were like, all right, nope, I'm out.
Uh-huh.
So whoever wants to answer this, go ahead.
I'm curious because I have mentioned this before. I know specifically to you, Kelly. Can you guess what my answer is?
Oh, don't ask me first thing. No.
Kelly's been
No,
awake for all
I mean-
of 5 minutes at this point.
All right. Well, mine is.
I'm thinking maybe like something from Star Wars. So
Do you think?
Qui-Gon Jinn or something?
No, y'all go ahead first. I'll come in last with this. I have a very specific answer.
All right, Jamie, it was your question, so you first if you want.
I knew you were going to do that to me. So mine is kind of quiet, or mine is kind of old-fashioned and crazy, but when I was growing up, I watched Gone with the Wind, which is super problematic, and we know this now. But growing up, I totally wanted to be Scarlett O'Hara, and I did everything I could to be just like her, except for maybe a little less selfish. But I realized as I grew up that I'm much more like Rhett. Very pragmatic, and I don't put up with a lot of BS, and but I will hang on to something till it is so very dead before I let it go.
It's an interesting answer that I did not expect to hear.
Right? Crazy.
Okay.
So,
Well, for me,
Kel?
it's I don't know. When I took one of those, I remember back a couple of years ago, there was this test going around. Which character from all of fiction do you identify the most? And it had like 100 questions or some shit. And the one that I identified most with, according to the test, was Garrick from Deep Space Nine. And that answer will land like a lead brick for both of you because neither one of you have watched the show. You don't know, but he is a plain, simple tailor that used to work in the intelligence community, and where it turns out now he's tired of everybody, but he has to put on this very polite facade for people. He's very smart, he's very pissy about a lot of shit, very sarcastic. I guess in a world according to that question, that's who I am. But who I try to emulate the most, and this is, I mean, I'm a huge Star Trek fan, so it's going to come back to this, is Picard. To the point where anytime I'm posed with a moral question where there's not a clearly delineated right or wrong, I ask myself, what would Picard do? Literally, I mean, it sounds like I'm being facetious, but no, there are some times of serious hardship in my life where I think, what would Jean-Luc Picard do in this scenario? Or what would he say to me if he saw me down and out like this and very sad? What would Jean-Luc Picard, would he be tough with me? Would he be very kind and compassionate with me? Because he's got a bunch of different modes. So those are the two people that I probably look up to in fiction and try to emulate, or I end up by default emulating. So Keith, what about you?
Mine is going to be Anakin Skywalker. I know firsthand from real life experience the feeling of loving / wanting something so much that either your very actions to prevent its loss being what end up ruining something. And that is a story. The downfall of Anakin Skywalker has been something that has sat with me before this happened, just because I was so intrigued by that concept. And then as it was happening, I was like, oh my God, I have done this.
What have I done?
Well, two things come through my mind. One is never leave you alone with a group of kids.
Sure.
Two, as somebody that used to be a teenage boy, I totally identify with that. And I don't know if it's a universal, every teenage boy goes through this kind of process or goes through these events, but I don't know. I've done that before. I've completely ruined relationships in like toxic masculinity rage, or in jealousy or feelings of insecurity.
Yep.
Things that, you know what I'm saying? Like, I've poisoned the well myself, and then after the fact, I'm looking at myself like, how fucking dare you ruined something that was really good relationships, whether they were friendships or romantic or whatever.
Yep.
And that just makes you hate yourself more, and it turns you more to the quote unquote dark side.
100%.
You know, like,
it's a real thing.
Yeah. That's why I feel like Anakin Skywalker was a little bit of therapy for George Lucas, and thankfully for that, because it feels like it's a lot of therapy for a lot of us. Because those of us in the real world can look at Anakin and go, I started down that path too, but I didn't go there. I turned back to the light. I might not be the most pious, holy person now, but I'm definitely not killing rooms full of children.
Yeah, well, I did not kill a room full of children, let that be known.
You sure about that? You sure about that?
It stopped before it got that far.
He's the warning story. If you keep going, this is where it'll end. So he's the reason why you don't go down that path. But also, like George Lucas, because he's telling this wonderful grand right or wrong tale to largely, like he said, his target audience is 12-year-old girls. So when he's talking to these people, it's, this is the path you don't want to go down because this could happen. But even if you did, it's never too late to turn it around. That's the message of Darth Vader, is that even if you're the most evil, vile person in the world, all you gotta do is stop, buddy. Just stop.
It's just a choice that you make. You can make that choice and you can stop. Yep.
Say you're sorry, say thank you, and try to be kind from here out. Learn from your lessons, that kind of stuff. So, the next question I have on a list is, we're going to do 1, 2, and 4. So, what's a movie or video game that you think deserves a sequel or a reboot?
I have a video game, and that video game is, you could just, in general, say a Star Wars MMO. Specifically, I'd say Star Wars Galaxies, but that's just because it was sandboxy, and I like that more than a theme park.
Oh, damn, that is, from a video game point of view, that's a damn good answer.
A new
Star Wars Galaxies.
A new Star Wars open world MMO, please.
Specifically because they had like non-combat roles, and I loved that about that game. Being a musician or being a farmer.
I was a hairdresser.
I'm a part-time stripper and I do hair.
That's perfect.
People would come and they like pay you to change their hair and like color their outfit and shit.
That
was the problem, is that most MMOs have all the combat and the adventure mechanics there, but there's not a lot of real life. You can't just be a cobbler or a stonemason or something like that, even though those people would make up the large portion of the actual population. But then you've got the other games like The Sims and stuff like that, which will give you all those occupations and that kind of life, decorating your home, all that, but they don't have fucking combat. You can't beat the shit out of somebody if they're evil or something, you know? So like, I think we all want those two worlds. I think the Sim fans wouldn't mind if a little ass beating got into The Sims and the, you know, and the World of Warcrafters wouldn't mind if a little housekeeping didn't get into theirs.
And it's true, because there were people who literally just did that stuff. If you were a musician in Star Wars Galaxies, you logged on, you went to the cantina, you role-played and chatted with your friends while you had your macros up doing your buff songs, and people would come in and tip you.
Yep.
And that's your 4-hour MMO session. You know what I mean?
That's what I did in EverQuest. I was a bard, and I took being a bard seriously. I never got over level 10 because you got this ability that could make people run faster, and I would just be like their traveling companion, that I would make them run faster by inspiring them with good music while we were going. Yeah. And I would tell them stories while I was on auto run and stuff like that. I loved being a bard in those games. Anyway, what about you, Jamie?
I think I really honestly would like to see a reboot of The Labyrinth, but done well. Like I'm kind of excited for the fact that they keep talking about it, so I'm cool with that. I love that movie, love everything about it, and I would like to see it done well and redone just for fun.
I think Labyrinth would be a wonderful thing to reboot. The only problem is that, like, you would have, I don't know. You get so many people that would get upset about the David Bowie.
Of course.
You'd have to recast him.
Recasting David Bowie.
But you'd have to go like a completely different route and not do like a musician at all, because that would be pointless. You'd have to go a completely different route.
Yeah, I mean, and I'd feel about it the same way we've kind of felt about The Crow when 2024 came out, that, like, with all these materials, like, I don't mind if they reboot it and try something new, because it's not like they reached in and took the Brandon Lee version out of my collection, so it's fine.
Right.
I'm trying to think of, for me, like, the easy one for me is my favorite video game franchise is Mass Effect, so I really want a good Mass Effect sequel. But
that's not a reboot, though.
Yeah, no, I don't. But the question is, what's a video game or movie that you think deserves a sequel or a reboot?
Okay.
So, you know, sequel-wise, and that seems like a cheap question because they are making one. So, like, it feels like this is more of like the unsung, which ones didn't get made that you feel like it should get made. Okay, I'm going to be a little controversial with this because I haven't seen this show, but I have enough friends of mine that I respect their opinion about sci-fi and just storylines in general that have said so many good things about it that I guess we would have to see a reboot or a sequel or continuation, but Firefly.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't seen it either. But yeah, I know a lot of people would love to see it take back on with the same cast.
People were begging Netflix for that to happen a few years back. Yeah.
I don't understand how some of these things don't happen that way, except if there's like somebody really, really bad in the process, you know.
Or the cast is just not into it. That's my best guess, is they can't get that original cast back.
I don't know. Usually actors are into getting paid to be on
rights
screen,
holders,
you know?
Several rights holders disagreeing is the most common cause.
Yeah.
Of that bullshit.
Yeah.
Why we were robbed of X-Men in the Marvel Cinematic Universe when they were making, you know, like, for kids of the 90s and 80s, like, that was such a disservice that we've got the Avengers, really? We got the fucking Avengers instead of the X-Men?
Yeah.
That's like the GoBots of the Transformer world. Like, okay, sure, we can have Thor. Thor's a fucking weirdo. He's got, like, wings on his helmet. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, because we got X-Men movies, right? But they're detached from everything else and in their own thing, and they don't have that same level of Marvel quality that Marvel has displayed in their movies.
Right. I wanted Logan telling off Tony Stark. I wanted to see that conversation.
Right.
Anyway. All right, so the next question is...
Well, real quick answer on my movie version of that is District 9. I don't know if we've all seen District 9, but there's implied sequel, and I would love to see it.
Yeah, that was definitely a unique spin, and I would love to see more in that. You know, or even just like more stuff in the world, like The Creator and that kind of stuff. Yeah. These really beautiful, well-written sci-fi stories. A lot of them I do want to see them expanded on. But much like The Thing, like if you expand on it, do you take away some of its magic? Maybe it's better left alone as just singular story.
I do have a TV series answer too now that I think about it, and I have to remember the name of it. So give me a second here.
Cheers.
No, it is. It was a.
That's called Frasier, buddy. That already happened.
Belvedere.
It was a side of victim of the writers' strike. It had Lee Pace in it.
A few moments later.
Pushing Daisies. That was it. Pushing Daisies. It was such a good show. And they did wrap it up and give it an ending, but it was a super rushed ending. And I loved that show. I loved everything about that show. And I wish I could get like 3 more seasons out of it.
I had an ex of mine that swore by that show, and she loved it. And we exchanged TV shows and media all the time, like you do when you're friends and partners and stuff. And,
right.
I watched like the first 2 or 3 episodes of it, and I really did enjoy it. I could see what she saw in it. It had a really quirky feel to it, very, very interesting. I don't remember a lot. I just remember it being very imaginative, very bright and bubbly. You know,
never seen it. Next question.
All right, we're skipping question 3. We're going to move right to question 4. Our last question. You get to recast one major movie role with a different actor. Who do you pick and for what role? Crickets.
This is a great question. Need some
Yeah.
time.
None of us want to go
we'll
first.
Edit out a lot of dead time.
I mean, I can go first. I feel like I'm going to be a little repetitive in this one because growing up, Gone with the Wind was one of my favorite movies. And again, super problematic now. I love that Turner Classic Movies actually puts a disclaimer in front of it because it did do some good. I mean, it was the first African-American Oscar ever, that sort of thing. But I want to see Tom Hiddleston play Ashley Wilkes because maybe then I would actually understand what the heck was the pull of Ashley Wilkes because that man was not attractive, nor was he cool. I don't get what she saw in him.
Yeah, the couple things that come to mind especially after seeing the most recent movie, and because we were just talking about Marvel and X-Men and stuff like that, seeing Henry Cavill as Wolverine was really cool. I think Henry Cavill could have been a really cool Wolverine, especially if they used like Peter Jackson's perspective shit to make him a little bit smaller, but bulky like that, just shorter.
So tall. He's a very tall gentleman. So.
That's the only problem is his height, but we let that shit go all the time with superheroes. I've never seen Wolverine cast as like the 5'3" or whatever he is in the goddamn comic books. He's like he's a very short person in the comics or whatever, as far as I remember, right?
I mean, they did it in the last Deadpool.
Like he's nowhere near 6
for
foot.
2 seconds.
5'4". Think about that. Like I'm not a tall man and I am like a whole head taller than him. So anyways, the real casting and this is going to be really deep nerd dive, and you'll have to just pardon me because this is the only platform I'll ever have a chance to even say this, and I'm glad I thought of it. I would like to recast Captain Picard and like do a reboot of Captain Picard's life where we go back and we see his younger years or something like that. And the actor that I think would be an amazing person to play him is Kevin McKidd. Who? And the reason why I say this sounds like a really weird, people are going, who the fuck is Kevin McKidd? If you've ever seen the TV show Rome, TV show Rome, the main character, what's his name? Tilo, or what's his fucking name in Rome?
I don't know, but he's this ginger
Lucius.
gentleman.
He plays Lucius Vorenus in Rome. He's the main character, and I swear to God, the way he talks, the way his mouth moves, the way his head looks, like if you shaved his head and aged him, I mean, probably nowadays, he probably is a spitting image for Patrick Stewart's, like, brother, in the 80s and 90s kind of thing. It goes deeper than just his looks, his mannerisms and everything like that. And I don't necessarily think that we should recast Patrick Stewart. I'm just saying if we ever wanted to do more Captain Picard stuff, you've got this actor that I think would be fucking amazing. And he's got plenty of good acting chops underneath his belt, so it's not like he doesn't know what he's doing either. So I think he'd be wonderful.
So you basically just want to recast Picard with a younger version of Picard so that you can watch more younger Picard stuff?
More Picard.
Yeah.
Okay.
His story is actually really interesting. Like, they've done enough movies and TV shows about Captain Kirk's backstory, and not a lot of people realize that Captain Picard was kind of a ballsy asshole in most of his life. Everybody thinks of Kirk as the gung-ho, I'm a cowboy, where he was much more of a nerd. Picard was more of the beating people up at bars and running races and breaking rules and shit like that.
So this is not my answer, but it falls in line with exactly what you said. And part of the problem with is fans of a property who like the character, will glom onto the actor. And I think that the character should have a longer, life than the actor, as terrible as it is for some people to imagine. Like, I don't think a great character's story should end because the actor ages out of the role. I think there needs to be some sort of level of acceptance that if you love this character and want to see more, that
That's fair.
that sort of, you need to have room in your heart for that sort of growth, because I would love to see more young Luke Skywalker that isn't a digital crazy nightmare concoction.
That digital AI CGI mess that they use. I mean, okay, it allows you to throw in a quick scene here or there. That's fine.
Right. But
if you start basing whole scenes off of that, no.
Exactly. Well, they honestly, it's kind of scary. It got scary kind of better. He shows up again in Book of Boba Fett, and it's like almost insane how good it looks. But I want a character to be able to emote, an actor to be able to emote and act as Luke Skywalker and see his further adventures. But that's not my answer.
So real quick, I want to throw out there as an aside, Sam Winter, that's the guy that does a lot of voices for Star Wars clones.
Yeah,
and he played
Sam Witwerth.
Darth Maul. Whitworth, okay, sorry. He recently did a little short film for Star Trek where he plays Captain Kirk, played by William Shatner. And they used William Shatner and Sam Witwerth. They used composites of their faces and AI CGI stuff magic. And it is remarkable how well they pulled it off. And it flies in the face of everything I just said.
Sure.
Because it's so well done. It even has like a little bit of Leonard Nimoy and stuff like that. And it really well done, very tastefully done, very cool. Take a look for it. Look for like a new thing for Star Trek, and you find it if you're interested in that. But it is an interesting crossover too, that's the famous Star Wars guy, and he's playing Captain fucking Kirk. Like, you don't get more iconic in Star Wars or in Star Trek than Captain Kirk. So
my actual answer is, and you might think I'm crazy, but I think if you think about it for a couple minutes, you'll see the vision. Is it's a couple caveats. You couldn't do it now. The time to do this was like 10 years ago or 15 years ago or whatever. But if you remake Evil Dead, specifically Evil Dead 2, Jim Carrey as Ash. Groovy. For the physical comedy and some of the preposterous faces.
Yeah,
and
I can see that.
I can see it 100%, and I think he's one of the only people I would be comfortable actually doing that.
Okay, so I can see your point of view. I can see where you would think that. But I think Jim Carrey is a little bit, if you let him lean it, when he's campy, he's too big. Whereas Bruce Campbell is very reserved. That's part of what makes him funny.
Part of what makes this work is you still have Sam Raimi directing, who is locked down on what he wants and what he needs from his actors. So I think he could rein that in just enough to get it where you need it to be.
I'd be willing to give it a try, and also, like, Jim Carrey has shown that he can be serious. Like, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, like, that was a fucking, oh my god.
Think about, this is always my pitch when I talk about this. This is something I've actually talked about with friends. The scene where Ash is in the cabin going crazy, and everyone's laughing at him, like the deer head and everything, and he stops, and he looks over, and the lamp is, like, bending, and he goes, oh, and he starts, like, humping up and down, like doing the same motion with it.
Those big scenes, 100%, I can see where you get that and that translates. But imagine like the zoom in on his face, the extreme close up where he says groovy. Now imagine Jim Carrey doing it. It looks like a parody of itself. Like if Jim Carrey did it more seriously, sure, but that's what makes Ash such a fucking weirdo and such a cringe king, is that he thinks he's being serious, but the rest of us are like, oh god, oh what are you doing, Ash? That is not as cool as you think it is. Groovy is not the cool phrase that you think it is, and then he kind of brought it back, so it worked out.
So I think there's a slim chance. I've viewed 6 million realities, and there's one chance where it works, but in that one, oh boy, it's awesome.
Yeah. All right, so those are some thoughts that we had about some random questions, just to give you an intermission from all the Lord of the Rings stuff that we just went through.
What's
and we
that,
are continuing
what's that,
our
dear?
journey.
Yes, honey, we'll go back and talk about Lord of the Rings more now.
Yes, we'll be back. No, we are still enjoying it. And there's also the thing, like, part of me is like, I'm so dying to get to other stuff because we've spent so long on Lord of the Rings.
Right.
but I also know that this is we're not going to come back and do this again.
Right.
You know, I mean, unless something really weird happens and 10 years from now and we want to, but I don't see it happening anytime soon. So I also want to give it the proper respect it deserves. And,
yes.
Oh God, don't even, they're going to do it, aren't they?
I
They're
actually meant more
Frodo is going to play Bilbo or
they
something.
are very much
it's gonna
talking
be...
about it, but I actually meant the reboot of our podcast.
Oh, yes. Who are they going to recast as Kelly? Who are they going to recast as Keith? And who are they going to recast as...
Don't worry.
Exactly.
After we've had chance to recover, I'll force the Hobbit on us at some point. So.
Oh, fuck you. Fuck you. Preemptive fuck off, man. So, real quick before we leave, I just have one little small question too. What do you plug something that you're enjoying right now? Book, movie, TV show, sandwich? Tell me something cool that you've been experiencing in your life.
I'm playing the JRPG Ni no Kuni, and it's a delightful little cozy RPG game.
Oh, the art style with that is beautiful.
It is. It's like every frame a painting, and it's relaxing. And it's like most of the games that I like to play, I don't usually play them on weeknights when I come home because it's like, oh, I'm already stressed. Do I want to get like chased by monsters or worry about how much fucking brick I'm mining or whatever? So this is a nice little cozy, relaxing thing that I can have a glass of milk and chill out. And
Isn't that the
relax.
one with the Ghibli?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Directly, Studio Ghibli is.
Oh, okay. Well,
involved.
that explains it if it's Studio Ghibli doing it, then.
And it's delightful, and I highly recommend it to anyone who has any interest in JRPGs or Studio Ghibli and video games in general. It's delightful.
I just actually started watching The Pit with Noah Wiley, and it's streaming on Max, and it's like Noah Wiley is back in an ER, but it's in Pittsburgh this time. And it's pretty good.
Advertisements for that.
It's really pretty good. It's a little bit different than your average medical drama, but I'm enjoying it. I like it. I recommend watching it.
I'm glad that guy's still getting work. I haven't seen him really much since ER.
He looks like himself, but older.
I'm butting back in to say I'm rewatching Game of Thrones as well as I have started watching Deadwood, and both of those are enjoyable.
Deadwood
Jesus,
is amazing.
man, how many hours in a week do you have? How do you?
Well, he did say he didn't sleep last night, so you know.
Yeah, that's all he's doing with his time. He's removed sleep and he's replaced it with Deadwood. I'm still knee deep in The Expanse. I'm at the end of book 7, so I'm well in the future compared to those that have seen the TV show. Such a good universe, such a good story, totally worth it. I'm also like watching the TV show finally. I'm watching season 5, so that's been that. And video game wise, I've been playing some Guild Wars 2 again. It's such a good MMO to jump in every once in a while for me. I play it for a month and jump back out and do something else. So
there you go.
Yeah. So The Expanse, though, definitely. Like MMOs, if you play MMOs, you already know about Guild Wars 2. I ain't going to try to sell you or not sell you on that. But The Expanse, whether you're a book reader, read the books. If you like audiobooks, the audiobook narration is fucking amazing. The TV show is a top-down masterpiece by everybody that involves. So, all right. So those are our thoughts. And we are going to keep them, and we're going to package them and send them back out to you. Yep,
there are many thoughts like it, but these ones are ours.
So for Screen Share and Chill, I'm Kelly.
I'm Keith.
I'm Jamie.
I'm going to call the police.
See you next week
Bye.
for more Lord of the Rings. We get to
Bye.
follow more elves around and smell dwarf farts. And Mordor.
Mordor, yeah. There's lots more.
Mordor. Yep, they put in like 17 rolls every time you say the word.
Stay tuned. For
And a little gravel.
Mordor.
Mordor.
More Mordor in store.
Please.
You're starting to sound a little bit like
For
Gollum
sure.
now.
Contact with the umpire in any manner.
Bye.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.
Penalty for the violation is immediate ejection from the game. Look it up, but do it in the stands. You're